Just keeping everybody up to speed, the patch OB48 should be out tomorrow, and I thought, well, this is a good time to talk about the new PvE mode, and that is Cops and Robbers. The cops are Lex, and you have 5 of them, so for the first time in a long while, since they had the 5 victors in closed beta in one of the game modes, we have 5 of the same champion on the players team, and on the enemy team as well. And the robbers in this occasion, in the Cops and Robbers lineup, is Maeve. So Maeve is sort of the gutter runner and the pickpocket of the game, and Lex is obviously the sort of fantasy lawman, and that was his code name, so it works out quite well. And this PvE mode is actually one of the best that has come out so far. Well, I mean, it doesn't say a lot, seeing as the other ones have been so hard when you're not with the group that's 100% coordinating with each other. Now, almost every patch people ask me to do a guide for the PvE mode. The only problem with the past couple of patches, I sort of got fed up with the PvE mode and the challenge mode or whatever, and what it had become. Obviously, like they were sort of just exploits, and you're just exploiting the NPC's behavior, and I just didn't think the other ones were all that much fun. They were just way too hard, new players were getting into them and not being able to have any sort of chance. And this time around I thought, well, actually, I mean, you probably don't need that much of a guide, but there is a little bit of a tactic how to complete this one. Now this one, it's not so much of an exploit, but basically, if you're all together as your Lexes, it's much harder for the Maeves to focus you down. Now, if you sort of split off and go around the map, those Maeves will focus you, and the main thing is when they're jumping on you and pouncing on you, they'll burst you down pretty quickly. But if you're in a group, what you can do is focus down the Maeves together, the ones that come to you, and also once one Maeve is focusing on you and you get to low health, you can sort of go to the back of the group behind all the other Lexes, and then they'll start attacking the Lexes in front of you, and you can sort of survive that way. So the best way to do it seems to be to go straight right when you come out of the spawn room, go up above the platforms and onto the top when you go through like a log archway, and then on the right the Maeves will start coming up either up through the little log hut thing and up a ramp, or they'll come around the sides on either of the ramp on the enemy side or on the sort of very edge on the right. Either way, it doesn't really matter. They don't seem to all come together this way. They come in drips and drabs, and you can basically focus them down as they're coming through. There aren't really many tips for taking them down apart from playing Lex as Lex, so getting your left clicks off, then using your right click to finish people off, or using your right click to heal. And when the Maeves do use their ultimates and you're blinded, you can also use your right click and sort of point in the area where the Maeve was before, and if they were low, then you can probably kill them and stop them from ulting. It's actually pretty difficult to get your ulties off in this game mode because the Maeves often come for you 1v1, so don't be afraid to use your ultimate on a Maeve that's low if you have the chance and your right click is on cooldown, because they won't often be in a group for you to kill that easily. Item wise, I'd say pick up Haven, because their Maeve's all about direct damage, so it's going to block the most damage. Some lifesteal just to keep yourself alive, and then think about Cauterize, because the Maeves all have the healing legendary equipped that heals them when they use their Q, their 9 lives ability. Reducing their healing can just stop them from basically keeping up longer, and it will just make them easier to burst down for you. Although probably would take the Haven first, maybe get a bit of Cauterize, maybe get a bit of lifesteal just to keep yourself up. But like I said before, once you're on top of this platform and the Maeves are coming for you, if you do get low, just get to the back of all the other Lexes, and you can also, if you're in the right position, go back out towards the spawn room through the doorway where that sort of log doorway is, and come back down the ramp, heal up, and then go back into the fight again. Sometimes the Maeves will just go on the point and sort of gather together. The only thing with trying to snipe the Maeves is that your weapons have quite a big drop off, and they have really good aim and don't have any drop off, so it can be quite difficult to actually snipe them. But if you're all doing it, then you can pretty much burst down one at a time. If you stick together and go in as a group, you should pretty much be able to do it almost every time. Maybe you'll lose 1 or 2 rounds, but I wouldn't say this PvE mode is all that difficult. I'd probably say it's the most fun one that we've had so far, but again, it doesn't say that much. And now I'm just going to give some thoughts on the mode, and I think actually now this mode would work a lot better as a player versus player PvP mode rather than a PvE mode against bots. Why? Because the bots almost always follow a similar pattern and always come around and very predictable. Now with real players, it'd be a bit more hectic, every game would be different, and the format of the PvE currently, with the 5 rounds and the survivor mode, it gets kind of repetitive and a bit boring when you're playing bots because, as I said before, they go in the same route. But with players, if it was a custom sort of game mode and something like an arcade game mode or a fun game mode or like a party game mode, I don't know, you could call it whatever you wanted to, but having these game modes as PvP with all players on one team getting the legs, all players on the other team being the Maven and being cops and robbers, maybe even adding like a very small skin on it like a sheriff's badge on Lex and like a robber's hat on Maeve, could make this something quite special as like a custom PvP mode rather than a PvE mode. I've kind of said all along that I think the PvE mode as a challenge mode didn't really work. These challenges could be interesting as sort of cutting them down, not having as many and being so difficult, but maybe having like a boss at the end of an actual wave-based PvE mode like Mana Machines in TF2 and Overwatch's Uprising or their Halloween event, Junkenstein's Revenge or something like that. Those PvE modes, the sort of like survival wave-based game mode, just seems to work a lot better and are more fun and more interesting and aren't so ridiculous to complete, and don't act like this where they're in a round, they get a little bit boring because it's the same every time, the AI act the same, and honestly it's probably difficult to make the AI unpredictable enough to be fun and much more work than you'd think a wave-based mode would be. It wouldn't even need any sort of like extra skins or mobs. All it could be is just the normal characters in the game, but make them weaker and have lots of waves of them, and the waves get harder and harder as they come along. I actually think if you cut back a lot of the PvE modes that are currently in and don't make the characters on the bot teams overpowered, you could run them as PvP modes and challenge modes away from the PvE mode as well. Like a lot of the ones that have already been in could be added to this sort of toy box or play mode or arcade mode or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it sort of sparked my imagination on what could be done with PvE and where they could take this sort of game mode into the PvP realm as well. Be sure everyone else to let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you think that this is a better step in the right direction for PvE, or do you think that perhaps it should be PvP mode and maybe we could have some sort of like custom games and sort of arcadey mode to just spice things up for when you're tired of the normal mode or the competitive mode in the game? So yeah, splash your best ideas down in that comment section. As always, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button, dislike it if you didn't, and subscribe for more of my content. I'll see you all next time. I've been Joshino.